Hey there, Fro Nation, and welcome to another week of FroKnowsPhoto RAWtalk. And we've got something a little different for you this week around. I am actually being interviewed by Frederick Van Johnson of This Week in Photo, aka TWiP, TWiP. They are a pretty big photo podcast that is out there in Podlandia world, land of podcasting world stuff. But yeah. Frederick asked me to be on a long while ago, and we just connected this week in recording one, and I'm actually on the 300th episode of TWiP, which is going to go up on Friday, so you're going to get to hear this before, or is it Wednesday? I don't know when it's going up. You're going to get to hear it before they even put it up on their site, so I figured it would be a little different this week to have me being interviewed by somebody, and that would be an interesting Raw Talk, because I'm not asking the questions. I'm getting the questions asked of me. I love doing interviews. I find them to be fun. I don't get any questions beforehand. I just like getting asked questions and then answering them because that's the way that interviews should be, right? So I want to thank our sponsors this week. By the way, guys, thank you for supporting the sponsors. They help keep the site up and running. They keep the new content coming, the better content coming. It just helps us keep everything going. So I want to thank allenscamera.com. If you are in the United States and you're thinking about buying anything camera related, please check out allenscamera.com or give them a call, 215-547-2841, so you can get any help needed. They will help you on the phone. That's what's cool about calling a mom and pop store. They will take the time, they're knowledgeable, and they will help you find out what you need, and just ask for, just tell them the Fro sent you. You never know what could happen. Maybe some free stuff, maybe some better pricing. You never know. They will do their best to help you out. I want to thank Drobo, because Drobo is helping us with giving away. We can give away 10 Drobos this year. We've only given away one so far, and we've got more to give away. I'm excited about that. AdoramaPix.com, thank you for the prints. I get to make some kick-ass aluminized prints, which there is a code for 15% off until the end of the year. I'll be giving you that in a video that is coming up soon. And BBO Poker Table for the poker table that I am not sitting at again this week during Raw Talk. So enjoy this reverse FroKnowsPhoto RAWtalk, where I'm being interviewed by the TWiP guy, Frederick Van Johnson.
I think we're live. You're ridiculous, man.
I just cracked my neck in 17 places.
Nice. No chiropractor. All right, here we go. This is going to be a really interesting show / conversation, because I was able to wrangle the one and only Jared Polin here, also known as FroKnows, the Fro, the amazing dude. So just a little background on Jared. We're going to dive into that, but looking at my notes here, his YouTube channel has been up since 2008, and since then he's had over 28 million.
I'm calling you off on that one. Hold on. I didn't start putting up videos until June 1st of 2010 on that. So
okay, so 2010, and you got 28 million views already, 163 some odd thousand subscribers. You have a podcast, you have a store, you do workshops or boot camps, all this stuff. You are living the life. You are the content creator that we always talk about on the show. So thank you for coming on. And this is an unstructured show. Normally I have like notes of what I'm going to ask the interviewee, but you and I are just going to talk, and I have a feeling it's going to be interesting.
That's how I like it. I like talking, more so than structure. Structure doesn't work. Just throw me out there. Just ask questions. You get into those interviews where people are like, throw me the questions beforehand. And it's like, no, just ask me shit, and I'm going to tell you answers right then and there.
Yeah. People get afraid. Okay, so let's give me your background first before we dive into the stuff that we're gonna bat around. Why did you get into photography?
Eastern European, a little bit of Polish. We've got it was a joke. You're allowed to laugh. Why'd I get into photography?
Yeah, why'd you get into it? What's the deal?
I started shooting at 13. I was in junior high school, and I was sitting on the sidelines watching basketball. And there were the yearbook, quote unquote, yearbook girls, photographers that were taking pictures, and I was like, well, why aren't they shooting the action? Why are they just shooting the guys standing around? Why are they doing this? And so instead of doing the thing like, you suck, pointing it out, I picked up a camera myself, went home, borrowed my mom's Fuji Discovery 1000, which is actually under the desk here right now, and started shooting with a point and shoot. So it wasn't like I knew what the hell I was doing. The camera did all the work. I just had the anticipation and the know-how to just the composition. It was just there. It was one of those things where it was just there.
You were like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is
well, yeah. I enjoyed capturing the moments, and it still took 10 years to maybe to finally get into manual to understand what in the world I was doing. I lived in the Running Man mode. I thought, hey, it's the sports mode. He's running. I better use that. I didn't know what it was doing. But like I tell everybody, if you can get the eye, if you can train yourself, if you can capture moments, I don't give a shit if it's, can I curse?
Go ahead. It's the internet.
I don't give a shit if you have the most underexposed or overexposed image. If I can tell that you captured the composition or you captured the moment properly, we can teach you how to get a proper exposure. That's just something that comes with practice and time, but it's much harder. It's not impossible to help people who don't get it right away, the composition and seeing the moment, but the people that get that, I'd rather see an image that isn't just exposed properly, because we can teach you that.
Yeah. Now, what about just the direction that you took over the 10 years? Since you picked up that first camera, and then today, I'm looking at your site and your YouTube. 18 years. So looking at your site and your YouTube channel and all that.
57 years old.
Whatever. And you're all over the place in terms of you're talking about Drobos, you're talking about RAW, you got all this stuff. What kind of photographer would you say you are? Yeah, exactly.
I like to capture moments. I like to tell stories. I don't want to be cliche. I capture moments, but I like photo stories. It's not just one image that encapsulates what I do. It's spending a day with an artist or a musician or just anybody, because everybody has a story to be captured. Wherever they're working, are they a butcher? Are they an accountant? I can make an accountant look fun, because the challenge is telling that story of the day. So I have a way of just interacting with people and them giving me the access and allowing me to capture their life in a way that some people may not have the opportunity. And that works with musicians. Like, for example, Matis Yahu. A lot of people may know him. A lot of people don't. A reggae rapping Jewish guy. And I basically called his manager to get access. I said, here's what I'd like to do. I would like to spend the day with Matis, but here's my work. I led with my work. This is what I've done in the past. This is what I'd like to do. And I spent 12 hours with him. It was just he and I, whether it was on his tour bus, up in his dressing room, going out to dinner. And I asked him, I said, Matis, why did you say yes to me coming out here on the road, to spending the day with you? He said, first off, my manager said you're the real deal because your work was there, because you could back it up. And the other thing is, you're not that typical fan. You're not that guy just trying to get backstage to do something. You're trying to do something different. And that's what I like. And I was like, thank you. Thank you for the access. Ask for the access. And so I asked for that. I know I always go off on tangents off of questions, and then I finally bring it back around to what it was all about. But what was it? What was the question again?
How did you develop your style, and what is that style? Yeah.
Right. So the style of shooting, when I first started, it was all sports. From 13 till about 19 and 20 years old, until Almost Famous came out and I started to get into music. The music scene was sports. And at 16, I started shooting the Philadelphia Flyers. I had a full season credential for a couple of years. I was shooting for a magazine, local, when magazines could sustain themselves. And I was like 16, 17 years old, and they'd cut me an $800 check for 2 shoots. And it's like, holy crap, $800. What other 16 and 17-year-old that's not selling weed or crack or something is going to make that kind of money?
Yeah.
But it wasn't about the money. It was just the love. I loved hockey, and I had access to go as a 16-year-old kid walking the hallways with these professional athletes, getting stopped about every 12 seconds because I look like a kid. But that was my introduction. I started shooting the sports. And then this.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say how I started with the. I don't want to bore the piss out of anybody, but the one turning point came in college when the one teacher who I had, who was a 4x5 teacher, he shot 4x5. That was his major thing, and he said to me, you're very good at shooting sports, but it's going to get boring if all you do is freeze the action that's in front of you. He's like, don't forget there's a whole world that's going on behind the scenes. There's kids in the stands with their parents. There's the Zamboni driver fixing the Zamboni. And from that moment on, that changed the type of images I captured. It wasn't just the action on the ice. I saw what was going on behind stage. So when people are just shooting in front of stage, I'm finding a way backstage. If they go to the left, I'm going to the right. I want to be different. I've always been different, so I wanted to set myself apart.
Know that. So and that goes back to what you were saying before about telling stories, right? So instead of just saying, okay, look, here's the 375th layup that I've taken a photo of. Now I'm going to go backstage after the layout and take a shot of the guy that's wrapping up his ankle or something like that, right?
Yeah. It all encompasses a story, and that's what I like. I like that you can look at a set of images, 25, 30, 40. I mean, I just did a shoot with a band, the first time they played in 6 years, a band called Silvertide that's a very good rock band, and I started at 2:30 in the afternoon, and I finished about 1 in the morning. But the story of the day, nobody has that because most people just got to shoot the show, and nobody else was shooting in the pit with me. It was just me in the pit because I wanted to be alone in the pit.
But when you're doing that kind of stuff, say, and that's photojournalism basically, right? So when you're doing those kind of assignments, what are you bringing with you? Are you the guy that's like, okay, I'm bringing one DSLR and a 50 mil lens, that's it? Or do you have the bag full of stuff?
I have a bag full of stuff, but I own one professional body. I own a D4, which Nikon has right now because I sent it back because the back focusing issues. But
yes.
Yeah, but I've always had one professional body, and the reason is they're so freaking expensive. If you buy 2 D4s and then you go and get D4Ss, you've just lost about $10,000 of value. So I've always been a fan, for me, professionally, buy the best gear you can. When it comes to bodies, you dump them as soon as the next one comes out, roll the money right into the next body, and it's a 2-year-long investment. That's for me. That's not for everybody. That's me as a professional, not the beginners, not the people working their way up. Invest in glass. It all comes down to glass. So you asked me what I take. I have the Hebrew Trinity. The 14 to 24, the 24 to 70, the 70 to 200 all stay in my bag all the time, and I throw a fisheye in there.
You said the Hebrew Trinity.
Yeah, I bought that.
You rolled right over that. You rolled right over that. That's awesome.
Well, it's whatever you want to call it. You got the Hebrew Trinity. You got the Three Amigos, if that's you. You've got the Holy Trinity. You've got. I mean, we could go down to every nationality and find the Trinity for them.
Yeah. So 3 lenses and that's it. So no fixed focal length lenses in there.
I mean, I have the 35-1.4 right now from Nikon. I have the Sigma one sitting there, but no, I like the versatility of the zoom. I feel for what I do that allows me to capture what I'm looking for. If I'm on tour with a band, it's a different story because each night you can try something different. So there, I would break out an 85-1.4. There, I'd break out a 300-2.8. There, well, I don't think I would travel with the 300-2.8, but then you can try the 50-1.4. And the primes are so beautiful. They really, really are. But I like the versatility of the zooms for the way that I like to shoot. Because I like to anticipate the moment. I like to know which lens. I like to feel like I have the right lens on at the right time. And sometimes with the primes, you don't really feel that.
And when you're out there, so say you're out there, you're shooting, you're filling up CF cards or SD cards, whatever, depending on what you're shooting, and you get back home. Then what? What's your step? I was looking at on your website. And you've got a review on there of the Drobo Mini. Is that where all your images are going? What's the next step after you get home?
Well, the step happens before I even get home because the D4 gives us the 2 cards.
Right.
Unfortunately, some moron over at Nikon decided to give us 2 different freaking cards, an XQD and a CF card, and I yelled at them. I sat in their office like 2 weeks before they announced the camera. They call some of us up to see these things, and I opened the door and I go, "What the hell is this thing?" I'm like, either give me 2 of the new thing, either be all in or be all the hell out. Either give me 2 CF cards or give me 2 XQD cards. I don't care if I need to get into a new format. It's a dead format. It's DOA. Sony doesn't even have a camera that takes it other than video cameras. It's beta all over again. I don't mind it's a fast-ass card. It connects to my Drobos or my Firewire, and it's fine. But that's my side rant off of that. I use both cards. The reason I use both cards is I shoot RAW to both. I have it instead of doing RAW plus JPEG or one having video and one having stills. I don't understand that. I don't want to have one have video and one have stills. I want to have my raw files going to both cards, redundant.
Yeah.
Because
So
if one card fails,
yeah, you're
well,
backing up in camera. Yeah.
Because I have that ability. Cards are cheap as shit. I'll put a 16 gig card in both. I'll get 400 pictures, and I rarely fill that because I'm not an overshooter. And so that's it. You know, I start off with that. I get home, offload them into the computer just with one of the cards, get them into Lightroom, rename them, back them up. I got the Drobos on my desktop. I got one Drobo. I got two Drobos. One backs up to the other, so there's always triple, quadruple redundancy just because you never know when something's going to fail. The Drobo could take a shit tomorrow, which has happened to people. But, you know, I have two of them, and they're on their what they call their dual redundant. So if one drive or two drives fail at the same time, all your stuff is still safe. But I've got that times two because I've got two of them sitting there.
Right. Yeah. So then, okay. So I got out of that. You're a Lightroom guy. Any reason why? How come not Aperture? Come on.
Yeah. Well, do you use Aperture?
No.
Right. So I got to ask this question last night when I was speaking, and it came down to Adobe's been around a hell of a lot longer doing image editing, processing.
Right. Say no.
I could be wrong. Somebody's be like, well, back in 1983, Apple put out Apple blah blah blah. But no, I just feel that it seems to be a more professional type of software. Every time I've seen Aperture, it looks toy-ish. It looks like it's an Apple product. It looks like it's a glorified iPhoto, and I'm sure it processes perfectly fine. Like, if I had to use it, I would use it. I've just used Lightroom since Lightroom 1.0, and I stick with it. Yeah.
And you learn a tool and you stick with it, and in the end, and I think we talked about this before on another hangout that we did, but I think you were saying something about it's not about the gear, right? It's that people get mired in the gear and in the software and forget about the art side of it. Talk about that a little bit. Like, was
that the hangout with all those boring people?
Yes, that was that one.
That was horrible. I was sitting there. I know. You got these people sitting over here just being so boring, and nobody's pushing buttons. And I started to push buttons. I was getting texts from people who were watching me being like, you better do something because this is pretty boring. So, I don't mind stirring the pot with a good discussion, and I think a good discussion is always needed. But anyway, the question again.
I forgot what the question was. I don't know. Where are we going with that? I don't know. This is good. I see. This is the way that we would normally have a conversation. If we're sitting in New York having drinks, this is how you and I would be talking.
Yeah, I go off on tangents.
We'll come back to that. You know what I wanted to talk about?
It was when we were sitting in. It was when we were in the hangout and something about art. But yeah, forget it. It was all about gear.
Right. Yeah, it was like Is it all about gear, or who cares, or is it about?
Look, you can. I say this all the time. You could have a D4. With the worst piece of glass on it and get crappy shots, or you could have a D30-100 with a pretty good lens on it and get amazing shots. I mean, the gear doesn't matter. The gear does matter. It really it does. Quality gear is quality gear. I used a D4, I used a D3S, I had a D3, I had a D2XS, and people always are like, how do you afford that stuff? And it's called buying smart. You buy smart. You sell your I sold my D3S for $4,500 at the very beginning before they lost their value. I rolled that money right into a D4. So what's it cost me to roll into a D4? $1,500-$1,600, right? It's just like, I can afford that. That made sense. But, quality gear, the reason I use a D4 and use the best stuff that comes out is because I think it can set me apart. I can utilize that. I know what I'm doing. I can utilize that gear to its full potential. I can push that D4 to 10,000, 12,800 ISO and get better results than some cameras are going to be at 800 because the combination of exposure, the combination of shooting raw, the combination of good glass, all put together with a knowledge of just doing it for so long can help the results.
Yeah, but at the same time, having good gear is great. Low light performance, all that stuff, great glass. But at the same time, on the amateur side, don't let not having what Jared has, stop you from being a great photographer or even trying to shoot with your iPhone or some crappy camera that you found, right?
Right. No, absolutely. You start with something, and to play this up, back when I started my site in 2010, I did a thing called the Super Secret Project. I bought a D3000 with a 35-1.8, and I went and I shot it because that camera, its low light capability sucks, but I went and I took it to a concert. And I did behind the scenes stuff. And yes, people yelled at me because I put 14-24 on there, and I put a 24-70 on there, and I put a 70-200 on there. But you know what? I'm not going to put a 55-200 on there to shoot something like that because I know I'm not going to get the results.
Yeah.
But just because, you don't have to buy the Nikon glass. You can pick up the Sigmas, the Tamrons, the Tokinas. You can pick up better glass. It comes down to letting that light in. So doing that with a D3000, you can hand you any camera, and you can get great results with it because you know what you're doing. So it just comes down to learning what you've got before you worry about buying gear. I mean, 98% of the questions that I get via email are gear-related questions.
Yeah, I mean that's the mentality, and we're all guilty of it. When you first get into something and you look at your heroes that are doing great shots, you'll say, "Hey, look at what Joe McNally's doing with all those strobes. I need to go buy 24, speed lights because I want to make those kind of images." And then you get sort of caught on that treadmill of, okay, in order for me to be a good photographer, I need a room full of gear.
Well, there's those people that go out there and teach those seminars that will remain nameless, where they go and they put you into a room with 900 other people and start out with the beginner basics of understanding photography, and then 4 hours later they're trying to teach you flash. If you can't jump from beginner basics right into flash photography if you don't have an understanding of the basics of the exposure triangle, because it's hand in hand with flash. You can't jump from I just picked up my first camera and I learned how to get out of auto to now this is how you do off-camera flash. You have to learn the basics before you can jump into the basics of the flash. I was just taking a knock at people without putting names to it.
I know it.
Just so because you can't just...
Now, where would you go with that? I mean, if you're an amateur, right? So there's an amateur photographer, amateur, and I use the word loosely because amateur can mean... somebody that knows they've been shooting forever, they just don't make any money at it. But this is somebody that's a beginner. They just got a camera, they're excited about it, they're buying magazines and books and subscribing to Linda, all this stuff. They're excited about all this stuff. So what I tell people is understand light first, right? Understand the properties of light, the physics of light, how light behaves. Get that in your brain, and then everything else starts falling into place. What do you tell people when they come to you and they're like, "Hey, Jared, I want to be a photographer. What do I do first?" What do you say?
Yeah, when you start talking physics, you lose me because it's like I get the Mr. Rogers type of teaching. That's what I like to do. I make it easily consumable, but that's for me. That's how I learn best.
Well, I'm a geek. See, you're cool. I'm not. I'm
not very cool. I'm not very cool. I just play one on TV. No. What I tell people is you got to go shoot. You just have to go freaking shoot. And I say this like, I don't care if you shoot JPEG the first time. I don't care if you leave it in auto. I just want you to get a feel for capturing the image. Capture the moment, anticipate the action, and like I said earlier, we can teach you the other basics after that. Use auto to get out of auto. If you take a picture in auto, you look at the settings and go, "Oh, look, that's what I could set my camera to that and then mimic it in manual." And what I tell people is just play around. Set an exposure in manual. Like, guess a setting. I'm big into guessing settings. Like, you walk into a situation and you go, "Oh, this looks to be about 800 ISO and 60th of a second at f3.2. You should be able to get the proper exposure in 3 shots. With digital photography. 3 shots, you should be able to get the exposure. Because if you're really far off, then you get much closer on the next one, and you should have it dialed in by the 3rd one. And that's just the case. And it's just a matter of moving your aperture, your ISO, and your shutter speed. The rest can fall in. You may not have that understanding, but you just have to go and shoot. And that's my thing, is you go and shoot, and then it's and I think a lot of people think they're going to pick it up right away today.
No, you got to get mileage. You got to get mileage on your trigger finger, right?
Yeah, I mean, I shot film, and I don't think that anybody that is at a disadvantage today because they didn't. There's the people that will tell you that, "Oh, film was, you're not a purist." Well, you're not a freaking purist unless you roll up in a wagon with a glass plate on the back of a truck, on the back of the wagon, and you're processing, developing that with chemicals in the back of the wagon.
Right.
You want to talk purist? Go all the way back to the beginning on how they made this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't believe in that purist bullshit. It's just, if you want to go shoot film, go shoot film. It will help you learn. But I think digital helps people learn quicker because they see their results. With film, you shoot 36 shots, and 3 weeks later, you get the film back and you go, I don't know what I did wrong.
Yeah. So, yeah. The feedback loop is seconds instead of days, like in the old days. Yeah.
And the whole, the chimping thing. Do you chimp?
Yeah. I have to chimp.
I chimp. I absolutely chimp. And it's not something where you take a picture and you look. You take a picture and you look. You take a picture, you look at the screen because it's a pretty good... I don't do histograms. I'm sure you do histograms. I don't believe in them, especially when I shoot in low-light situations and I got a big-ass spike going one way. That's not going to get me anywhere. It's just it's like, hey, you got a big spike to the left. Whoopee. But I forget what I was saying.
I love it.
What was I saying?
I forgot. This is awesome. This is gonna be the greatest show ever. This is
well, I forget what I was saying. I was going somewhere.
You were going somewhere, but we'll come back to that. Now, before we going further in that stuff, I want to jump into marketing a little bit before I lose you, because that's the other piece of your brain, right? So
you're not going to lose me.
Yeah, because your brain.
I love marketing.
Good. I mean,
marketing, branding.
You like. Okay, so you're a great photographer. Seen your work. It's amazing. You know what you're doing inside and out of the camera. And then you get online, and like I said at the top, 28 million people have seen that. 28 million people can't be wrong, right? Or views can't be wrong. You're doing something right. What are you doing, and how'd you put this world, this ecosystem of FroKnows together?
Well, I'll tell you, it wasn't something that just came out of nowhere. When I struggled 10 years from after college until the point where I figured out what to do online. As a photographer, I was a very closed photographer. Like people, I thought I had I thought I had a good website. I thought I had good work, but then it came down to I wasn't putting myself in places to be successful. I wasn't going out and schmoozing. I thought that people would find my website and hire me because it's better work than what other people are doing. Well, that's not always the case. You have to put yourself into situations to be successful. And I didn't do that. And then at some point I tried making videos on jaredpolin.com, which was what I did, and I did it for a little, and then I was getting like 800 hits a day, 800 people to my website, 800 website views. I was like, yeah, this is cool, but I wasn't in the right place. I didn't have the right ideas yet. I didn't know what I was doing online, and I did some internet marketing events, which I would never pay to go to. I just ended up meeting people in fitness internet marketing. And what these guys did, and I think it's a bunch of crap, the internet marketing stuff, which is, hey, I've got the secret to how you can make millions online. Right. Well, the people that tell you that are making millions online, telling you how to make millions, that's how they're making their millions.
Yes.
So basically, I got into these events, the higher end events, the events that weren't full of crap, by offering my services for nothing in exchange for them to pay my way, and I would give them the work. But I got to sit in the front and listen to these people speak. So I learned what I thought was good, and then I just got rid of the stuff that was bullshit that these guys were saying. And some things clicked in my mind. I'm like, I don't think they're right. I don't think these guys are right talking about buying YouTube views. I don't think they're right about all this other stuff. And I said, I just want to do this my way, what I feel is right. And a lot of people just in internet marketing world it's sell, 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 sell. Yeah. Sell from day one. Everybody's like, you need to sell something day one. And I gave everything away, and everything continues to be free on FroKnowsPhoto.com except for the video guide, which just came out in September. That's like a 3-hour-long thing that's produced and put together to help people. But there's still 1,200 free videos, and I continue to make them day in and day out. But anyway, I get off track. But how did the marketing come about?
Yeah, how did that come about? And so it was a sort of an evolution rather than a revolution of, okay, I'm going to launch the Fro brand and it has all these components. You could have built it over time, right?
Yeah, well, I started growing the hair, not for this purpose. It's just I've never grown my hair longer than 3 months or 4 months because it would look awkward. And then I just let it go. And we're in 5.5 years now with the hair. And
wow.
It's never been trimmed. It's never been played, well, it's been played with by certain people, but it's
yeah, we were talking about that offline.
She loves
including last night.
She wanted to braid my hair. She's like, I want to braid it. I'm like, no, you're not braiding it right now. But
we got
the hair
things to take care of, right?
yeah, but yes, no, I'm respectful, very respectful. I don't give it up on the first date.
Yes,
Maybe the second or third. Yeah, but so what happened is the name just came out of nowhere. I was just thinking of names for a site because I knew what I wanted to do was create a site where people could ask me questions and then they'd maybe buy something from the affiliate link, which is, an Amazon thing, and that exists, and that's how people survive online, some of them. And I was like, I need something that's interesting. And I came up with, I don't know, it's a FroKnowsPhoto came up, and I bought it. I didn't ask anybody. I didn't ask them what they thought, and I just did it.
Yeah.
And so I had the site built. I had some people that I met at some of these events help me build that. And then my idea was, I don't want to write articles. I don't want to sit at the computer and type and do a blog like everybody else and just write these things, because I am better in front of the camera. Also, I can talk in front of the camera. And so I can make videos. And if I make videos and I put them on YouTube, well, YouTube is owned by Google, and Google owns the search realm. So if I put these things on Google, on YouTube, then people are going to search it and they're going to find me, because we're in a visual medium. You rather watch it and then read it. Now, that's not always the case, but the people that like me enjoy the way that I present it. I'll just tell you, what I set out to do was create something that was fun and informative. So not just boring sitting in front of a camera and giving tech talk, but tackling a dummy, sniffing a piece of gear, doing weird stuff. Because
your videos are amazing, dude. I love them. Thanks. So how do you, on a day-to-day basis? So you put these things out every day, and they range what? They're under 5 minutes or so. Yeah. So it's not like some of them are longer, but it's not like people have to invest. Okay, I got to sit down and get a cup of coffee and watch the Jared video today. You're in and out. So what's your schedule for doing this? You do them. You get up and you roll out of bed and you're like, okay, I'm going to go do something, or what? How do they come about? Very early on, I was forced to do 5-minute videos, which was a godsend, because the D3S only shot for 5 minutes, right? So that was the magic behind the video length. That was the magic behind. Yes, and easily consumable videos are what people want. So I was stuck with 5 minutes, which meant I was stuck with 4.5 minutes, because by the time I pressed the record button, sit in my chair and start talking, and then have my phone ding at 4 minutes, the video is almost over. So you have to deliver something concise, and you got to get to the point, and it's got to be fun, and it's got to be informative. And I do no editing. Like, I didn't do editing. Like, I wasn't an editor. I never did video until 3 years ago, video editing, and I taught myself. I'm not the greatest video editor, but I can put another reason I do one take. I do one take because I don't want to have to edit it later. That's too much work. And you just want to create the content, have quality content, which came also to having good microphones. I learned that like 3 weeks into making videos. I bought $600 wireless microphones. I invested in my business. I have great video because the D3S was great, and you put an 8514 on there. But if you can't hear me and you can see me, then it's worthless. Then it's garbage. Yeah. So that was the 5-minute videos. There's 40-minute. I do 5-minute portraits now that are, I call it the 5-minute portrait, and they're 40 minutes long, just because it's different. And some people will watch it, not everybody, but there's always some piece of content that somebody can watch. And I like to tell people, you can do a search on YouTube for anything photography, and you're going to see one of my 1,200 videos pop up on the side. My hair's going to be there. It's just, that was my game. It was make a video. When I first started, it was 2 videos a day. I would wake up, make a video, edit it, put it up. Make a video, edit it, put it up. And that's not sustainable by any stretch of the imagination. No, it's not. But I knew the more you put out there, the more people are going to find it. Because the more topics, it's like SEO. I don't understand SEO, but common sense SEO says if you're going to do a review of a Nikon D7100, that you call it Nikon D7100 review. Don't call it the first ever great review of this awesome Nikon D7100, because I read on YouTube how they rank your searches. It's based off of how many words you match. So if somebody wants to know something about a D7100, they're going to type in D7100 review. And if I have Nikon
D7100 review, I'm matching 2 out of 3 terms. I am going to rank higher because more of my keywords are matching the search results. Yep. So putting superfluous things in there like first ever, it's like nobody gives a shit. Nobody's going to search for first ever because guess what? It's not the first ever. I love when people say they're the first to do something. You are not the first to do something unless you walked on the moon. Right? Unless you walk on Mars. Then you can say you're the first. I'd rather say I'm the 31st, the 14th. I'd rather promote that. Hertz, right? We're second. We're the second leading renter. Or it wasn't Hertz, it was Enterprise. It was one of those. Their campaign was we're the second best. And
yeah, it was something like when you're number 2, we try harder or something like that. Was there
right?
Yeah.
Right. And that's, you know,
so you were shooting with an Icon, but are you using the GoPro at all for any of your work?
Yeah, I do. I use the GoPro now. I call it the first person shooter project. I put the GoPro, I attach it to the hot shoe using a hot shoe and a cold shoe type thing, and sorry, a cold shoe into the hot shoe, and then a 2 1/4 goes into the GoPro, and I put that on top of the camera so people can watch what I'm shooting during concerts. Like I'll put it on in the pit. Like I'm shooting Justin Bieber, I've got this video camera running. Whether it's legal or not, or whether you're supposed to or not supposed to, I do it because people like seeing what's going on in the pit, and they can see my first person perspective. They can see when I press that shutter, the picture pops up. So it's just
stealing that. I'm stealing that. That's awesome.
That's fine. Yeah, definitely. People ask about the GoPro all the time. They're like, the GoPro is great. The GoPro is a great tool, but the only thing is if you don't know how to edit video and you're not capable of editing video, or you don't have a friend who does video, then you're just going to be left with gigs and gigs of hours of video. I went to Aruba to test it. That's not the only reason I went to Aruba, but while I was in Aruba, I tested the GoPro, and it ended up, I sent it to my video editor. I asked him for I said, can you just do this? I'll put your information in front of it because I didn't want to spend $400 to do this. Yeah. But he cut it. He took all the footage and made a 30-second video. A 30-second video from all the footage, but it's amazing.
How many minutes of video did you give him that he edited down?
I probably gave him a good 2 hours of video.
Yeah.
Of me jumping and swimming because I took it underwater. But it got viewed. It's viewed like 280,000 times. 1, because it's 30 seconds, and 2, because there so happens to be a girl in a bikini getting out of the water as I'm following her ass right out. Yeah. And I put that as a thumbnail, and you know how people are on the internet.
Of course.
And you don't cheat people. That was actually in the video, so yeah.
And how many times was that viewed? Because you cut out a little bit when you were saying how many.
Oh, sorry. I didn't want to cut out. 200. It's like 280,000 views.
Jeez, that's crazy.
It was like 70,000 day one because it just people see a thumbnail of a pretty girl's butt in pink, they're gonna click on it.
Isn't that a shame? That's a shame. Humanity. Where's it gone?
It's psychology. We're in a business of psychology.
I know. So a lot of people are, just to close it off on that GoPro thing, a lot of people were saying, including on my show, they were saying that they had issues with it. Freezing up all the time and just not being ready for you when you're ready to take the shot. Have you had that issue at all?
So I haven't had an issue where it's not ready for the shot. If it's on, it's working. Mm-hmm. The things that I've run into trouble with is where you have to pull the battery in order, like if I plug in the USB to the computer and I turn it on to transfer files and then I disconnect it, you can't turn it on and you can't turn it off. Like it's not on, but it's not off, but a red light's on in the back. So I have to pull the battery to reset it. But I haven't had trouble when I'm shooting. The battery life sucks. That's a given. But you can get those mono-priced lithium batteries that have USB plugs and attach that. The GoPro's great. I mean, the guy's a billionaire. I read he's on the billionaire list now, the founder of it, because of what they've created. They created a following. They have 4.8 million people on their Facebook fan page. That's just insane.
That's crazy. Yeah, I got one, and I'm happy with it. Luckily, I haven't had any of the freeze-up problems that people complain about. Not even the pull the battery out thing. It's
right.
It's where maybe it's because I got a later model. I got the GoPro, the Hero, the black one that's...
Hey, watch it.
Yeah.
I bought the black one as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for supporting. And I got that.
Hold on.
I got it a couple weeks ago. You do not. Does that pig have a fist on it? Let me see the end of it.
No, this one doesn't have a fist on it. No. I buy these, by the way. I buy 1,152 of these at a time.
I mean, you go through in a day. Come
Well,
on.
it's not for me. It's this. You want to talk about branding and marketing?
Yes, yes.
That if anybody has ever bought a shirt from me, they will know that when they open up the pack, they get things that they didn't expect. There's extra things in there. It's added value. Things that people did not expect that you can throw in there. This pick cost me 13 cents, right? So I spend $150, $60 to buy 1,152 of them, and my girl who ships the merch, because I have a merch, we keep it all in house, stamps everyone with FroKnowsPhoto.com in white, and so people open up and they get this in there. They get stickers. On occasion, we just throw random things in there, maybe a lens cloth. If we notice that somebody bought something multiple times, because we know who's bought, and we've seen these people purchase multiple times, and we just throw in extra goodies.
That's great.
We throw in a lens cloth. We throw in a winter hat. So it's that whole added value.
But how does that work? How does it work logistically on the back end, right? So you get an order in. I've seen your site. It looks great, and I say, you know what? I want an iShoot Raw FroKnows T-shirt, and I order one. What happens then? Is it shipped from someplace in China? Does it come from you? You have a stack of them in your place there? I mean, how does it work?
So the funny thing is, I ship the first. Well, I'm not even going to put numbers on it. I used to ship all of the orders myself. I would manually write the names and addresses of where they were going when I first started, and then now I have a person who handles the merch, but it's in-house. It's in my dad's house, actually. It used to be in my old loft in the city, and when I moved home, we left it there because it makes it easier for the girl that I have working to get there. She goes on her own. She has a key to my dad's house and prints out the orders. We've got 9 or 10 racks of shirts always in stock, and we're talking the big baker's racks that are 6 high.
Yeah.
We stock small through 5XL. We stock really big shirts for the big boys and big girls because people need big shirts. So the orders come in, and she prints them out, she pulls them, she packs them, she weighs them, and prints the label. We came up with our own system. And that's another thing. There are companies that do this. I don't want to get Zazzle to print shirts on demand. Right. Yeah. You look at Zazzle, you're selling a shirt for $24, you're making maybe $2 on it, and the quality of the shirt is crap. They use what's like a Gildan t-shirt. If Gildan's watching, I hate your crap. They're crappy shirts. I use a ring spun cotton. It's not American Apparel. They're way too expensive. I'm sorry. I do buy these. I think some of the shirts are made in China or they are made overseas. But I keep all of the printing in-house. Now, I don't do the printing myself. I have a local guy, a mom and pop shop that does the printing. I buy the shirts from a local place that keeps people in business. So 2 out of 3 in the U.S. isn't bad. And we ship worldwide. Everything we ship all over the world. We ship Al Jazeera for some reason likes ordering from me in the UAE. We ship to Al Jazeera.
There's some froze over there. There's some froze apparently. See?
Yeah. So that's we do it in house, and it's a nice system that we've built. And it's not just
awesome.
me.
So that's a real physical business, because you were talking earlier about internet businesses, and they generally sell information. It's information marketing, right? So there's no physical atoms being moved around. It's all electrons. You're doing the physical stuff, which is exponentially harder. Why?
Well, you know why? Because bands sell merch. If I spent how many years touring with bands and working with bands to know that they don't make money selling a CD. They make money selling T-shirts. There's bands pulling in, the big bands that are playing the big 10,000, 20,000 venues are making couple $100,000 a night in merch.
Jeez. Wow.
Some of the other bands are making $80,000 a night in merch. And I knew that, my site was free. And 10 days into my site launching, I put out the first iShoot Raw shirt. I knew that I had to find a way to monetize it in order to allow me to keep doing it. Yeah. And people, some people will yell at you. Some people say, you're selling out. But you know what? It's free information. If you would like to support what I am doing, thank you. You can buy a T-shirt to continue that on. And the more people that purchase, and I keep my shirts, they're all $14.99 or less when I run a sale. And I rather sell more at a lower price than have like $25 shirts. And I know it's not about the shirt anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's awesome because it's like you have this constellation of things that are going on. So you have the content, you're pumping out the videos with the GoPro, and you're having fun there. Go ahead.
You asked me my schedule. I know that was like 20 minutes ago.
Yes.
But so very early on, when I realized it wasn't sustainable to put up 2 videos every day and just think of them that day, that minute, and go make them, I started to say Monday's going to be this, Tuesday's going to be this, Wednesday's going to be this, and determine what type of content I'm going to put out each day.
Yeah,
because certain content is easier to make. I do a rapid fire critique, an Adorama Picks rapid fire critique, where people submit their work and I critique it in a quick fashion, maybe 10 minutes or less, and I go through it, and they send me 10 pictures, and I talk about it, and I critique it. Well, that's a piece of content that I could maybe film 5 of them in a row, and then edit it, and then cut it down, and then pre-upload them to YouTube, and only turn them on when I need them. You know, and early on when I started, I gave out my Skype name, and people could call me on Skype. Wow. But what I did is I recorded them. I recorded the call with their permission to put up to help other people, because I figured there's people with the same questions. I might as well do this and record it. Mm-hmm. And that is user-generated content. That's something that I didn't have to think of to go and create. That's something that somebody called me for, and we came up with a good conversation, and that's a piece of content. So that took another, that's a day slot. That could fill Wednesday. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I sat there with my grandmother, and I made videos with her, and that had nothing to do with photography. It just, it's a humbling thing. I think people like to watch because it's not just photography. There's real life involved. I think part of it is because I don't edit and I make mistakes and I keep going. People can relate to that. Everything got so polished for a long time, but I don't. It's too polished. It's too fake, and we got to be real. And the more real you are, the more people will latch on. And it's a good thing to remember that it's better to have 50% of the people love you, 50% of the people hate you, than 100% of the people not give a shit. So if you try to make everybody happy, you make nobody happy. So you have to stand for something today. You can't just be out there and, you can't just try to play it safe, which probably brings us to that wedding discussion we were having earlier.
Yes, let's talk about that. I definitely want to talk about that. So last week, and we mentioned this before I started recording, I think it was last week on This Week in Photo, we did a show where we brought up the case of the wedding photographer, I believe it was Arizona, that was sued for declining to shoot a same-sex marriage wedding, and was sued and lost to the tune of like $6,600 or something like that, because this photographer said, I don't want to shoot that wedding because of whatever reasons, my religious beliefs or yada, 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 right? So I'm not going to lead the witness on this. What do you think about that, right or wrong?
Well, the photographer has the right to not take a job. Yep. And as the same-sex couple, why would you want a guy who doesn't want to shoot your wedding to shoot your wedding? When that's just me. You have the right to fire a client. You have the right not to. Just because somebody asks you to shoot their wedding doesn't mean you should do it. There's a right fit and there's a wrong fit. I've had weddings where, I've had very good weddings. They're the ones that I've done. And by the way, when I started my site, a way I sustained myself was I had 2 good years under my belt shooting weddings, and I could spend time during the day. I didn't need a day job. So I took all of that money and invested it in myself to build up. And by the way, I did max out a credit card, which I paid off. It was a 15-month zero financing credit card for $15 grand. Wow. That's how I bought my first merch. Then I recycled that money. I know we're getting off topic, but I thought it's important. Then I did it smart. Somebody was giving me 15 months to pay off $15,000. And I just reinvested the money back into myself, bought more merch as it sold. But, you know which wedding clients you're going to have a good time with. You know certain ones aren't your type. And if they don't hire you, that's fine, but you don't have to always hire them. Now, do I think that you should discriminate against shooting a same-sex marriage? Absolutely not. I think it's an awesome thing. I think it's an awesome thing for the industry, because how many people would be getting married? How many more people would be getting married that weren't getting married yesterday because they can now officially be deemed a married couple? Yeah. That would be freaking awesome. And gay weddings, gay weddings, because it would be considered a gay wedding, would be a ton of freaking fun. I would be on the dance floor dancing with the gay guys, the gay girls, because I don't care. I am secure in my sexuality, but you know that not a stereotype that gay weddings would have sharply dressed people, nice flowers, nice food.
Like, not the stereotype, but let me run down some stereotypes.
But not all of the weddings would be like that. We know that, but you also know that great taste. I mean, that they're going to be fun. The weddings are mostly going to be fun. It's just a great opportunity because one of the magazines wouldn't accept an advertisement for a same-sex marriage.
Yeah.
Are you give me a fucking break. If you're ultra, I don't want to get into religion, but don't push your beliefs on somebody else. But if somebody wants to get married, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
But I mean, I don't want to get into religion either, but that is part of it, right? I mean, that's people have. They have certain religious beliefs, or they could just be plain racist, and they the same kind of topic could come up, and they'd say, you know what, I don't want to shoot a Jewish wedding because I don't like Jewish people. I don't want to shoot a black wedding because I don't like black people, or I don't want to shoot this mixed wedding because races shouldn't be mixing. So,
but the great thing about races mixing is in 50 years we're all going to be the same.
Beige,
because
yes,
it doesn't matter. And I don't want to say this.
You're going to say it anyway. Come on.
How Serena Williams and how the Williams sisters were made? They were bred. They were bred to be tennis players because Mr. Williams found a basketball playing woman and said, I want to have kids that are going to be athletes and they're going to play tennis. Yeah. I always said as a short white Jewish guy that I'm going to marry a black woman because I'm not going to say it. I'm not even going to do this just because I'd have an athletic kid. I said it anyway. But, it's just like, I'm not, awesome. It's just a joke. I'm not racist. I'm just,
we know. I mean,
opportunity. But where were we?
Yeah, I don't know. But
the advertisement, the religious thing. In photography, there is that religious sect of the photography market. There is that, the let's pray that we get good photos. It's called spraying and praying, but don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, next.
That's what you were doing last night, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Not at all. No, man. The pants stayed on last night.
I was just pulling your leg.
No, nobody was pulling my leg last night. It was fun. I had a great time. I won't be seeing her again, and that was her choice. But we were going to remain friends because we weren't definitely the right fit for each other. Yeah. But I'm dating and all that good stuff because it's fun. Yes. It's enjoyable. Well, sometimes it's fun. This was fun. We knew that we weren't going to she's a Catholic girl that goes to church every Sunday. I'm a Jewish guy who looks like Jesus on occasion. And, we could fit there. But, we knew we just had fun because she was cool and I was cool. And we had a great time.
Yeah.
This isn't dating 101. But
I love it. We could do a whole podcast series together, man. I can see it now.
I could do it.
Let's talk about these boot camps that you run. And I saw some pictures of this giant crowd of people crowded around. What was the catalyst for that, and how are those going?
Well, the catalyst for it is that we all sit behind computers and we need to take the social out of social media and make it social in person again. Part of it was you have to be seen. And I know this, do something different. How many people are holding meetups and all of this? So Frodo walks were just the first one I did was in Philly, which was outside my loft. We had 200 people show up. It was the first one I did. People drove in from 8 hours away to come to do this. We had 200 people. We walked around the streets for 2 hours and we talked. Then I just figure everywhere I go, there's readers. It's just this brand has become a global thing. I didn't set out on the direction to do what I'm doing with the website. I thought if I started a website, maybe I'd get more photo jobs because I would get more photo jobs. But what happened is the people that latched onto it, I have a beginner market. People that are looking to learn. They've picked up their first cameras. And I was smart enough or just did the right thing to follow the direction that I was being pushed by the readers who make up the people that keep me doing what I'm doing. Excuse me. It just, in business, I didn't set out to start a business. Yeah. I didn't set out to make money at it or make a living doing this because I am a photographer. If I am not shooting, I am not happy. But I've also learned that if you do the things, sometimes to do the things you love, you have to do some things you may not love. And that's true with photography. If you don't love shooting weddings, but you love shooting concerts, well, music photography is not going to pay the bills. It's not going to pay the bills for anybody unless you're the #1 guy in the world that's getting cover shoots for Rolling Stone and all that. But maybe shooting that wedding will allow you to go on tour with that band because you made $4,000 on a wedding, and you can take $200 to go shoot this band. So doing the things that you may not want to do to affords you to do the things you love. And where were we going with that?
Well, we were talking about the boot camps and how all that stuff got started. Yeah.
So I thought it would be great to have you hang out in person because we need to get out and shoot. You can't just sit behind the computer. So I did that first one in Philly, and then I thought maybe I should do a boot camp. Maybe I should do people want to learn. They want to learn more than what I can give them online. So why don't I put together a group and teach? Because that seems to be something that people want to. They were asking me, do you ever teach classes? Do you do one-on-one? So I put together a boot camp. And I put a price on it, and I put what I thought was reasonable. And, you always get the people that bitch, that's too much. But some people, look, if something you learn from anybody, you go to anybody's clinic and you learn something that makes you money. Look at weddings. If I teach you something that you turn into shooting weddings, that $500 investment you made on my boot camp is paid off in the first deposit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sometimes you have to spend a little to make a little, and that's not for everybody. That's not for everybody. I'm not saying that you need to you need to go to people's clinics. You can learn a lot on your own, but some people just can't learn in front of the computer and they want to learn personally, and that's what I do. They're fine. And I'm not about pushing this stuff. I'm not about selling. It will sell itself when people realize it's there. And you just have to tell them it's there and let them make the decision. But we've done boot camps. I did it. I wanted to go to Photokina 2 years ago when almost 3 years ago when I started. Photokina was coming up in 3 months. I couldn't afford to go, and I said, when it comes around in 2 years, I'm going to go. So at this point, because I have a global reach, people are all over the world. I figured, why don't I go to Europe first? Why don't I go to London and first, and then pay make some money to pay for my trip, so that I can go to Photokina to make videos and interact with people. And everywhere I go, where I teach, where I charge something for a boot camp, which is limited to 25 people, I do something free for everybody the next day. So if the boot camp's on Saturday, Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon is the Frodo Walk, where 150 people show up to hang out and talk photography. It doesn't cost anything. I don't charge people to do that because it's about being seen. It's with music. If you've ever met a musician and you shook their hand or you had a personal conversation with them, you are no longer just a fan, you're their friend. So they've touched you in a way that you're going to show up to every show. You're going to buy a t-shirt. You're going to buy their music. You're going to spread the word of what they do because you believe in they took the time to talk to you. And that's another thing I didn't talk about earlier is how did the brand build and build and build? Yeah. I answered every email that came in. I still try to answer as many as possible. I interacted with people. I was a human being. I'm just like everybody else, and now people look to you maybe as me as an authority figure in the field. They think I've got answers, and I have my beliefs in my answers, whether they're all right. They're not all right, but
answers and opinions, right?
Right.
So that's what people are looking for.
So basically, the Frodo walks are cool. We go to cities. We had 150 people show up in San Francisco recently. Had 150 people show up in London, which was amazing. Germany, we had 12. We had 12 because I didn't officially book one, and last minute people showed up in Cologne because I didn't know when it would be or when we would have time. But that was awesome. We hung out. We went out to drink with all of them. I don't drink beer, so they just drank a lot of Kolsch. But most of the people all the people that were there in Germany went and had a beer, so we hung out for like 4 hours. Wow. And that's what it's about. That's great.
So real social, not you're not just getting likes and plus ones, right? Real social.
It's being in person because you know what? We can get stuck behind the I can make videos and I don't realize the effect that I'm having on somebody out there in the world because I don't see it. But it's unbelievable because people are being affected by the things you and I are doing. They may be inspired to go a certain direction. We may touch, I almost said we may touch a 14-year-old. We may, I may not. But what I mean by that is you may do something that gives them inspiration to find a path to do something good because we're giving back to them. They may find a direction that they want to go with their future because of something they saw us do.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. So
if you have a voice, use it.
Jump just to close this off. So
we're ending?
We're ending a little. I don't want to go too long. So talking about sort of multimediagraphers. So we talk about that on the show a lot. And then, I was talking to some folks a while back about just the idea of the solopreneur. And what that means is essentially, it's the photographer that is the creative person that has a constellation of things around them that allow them to sustain. So you're your own your solar system. You got your own planets, and that's generating money, that's paying your rent, and you're allowing you to eat and keep you in pics and all that stuff. So is that the way? Is that how photographers are going to be successful today? Because the dream used to be, you know what, I'm going to get good, and then I'm going to get a book deal, and then I'm going to be this guy, and is all that over? And you have to be, the multimediagrapher Jared.
You don't have to be anything to do anything these days, but some people are going to just be great photographers and get gigs and everything. You don't have to do what we do to be successful as a photographer. There's plenty of ways to be successful, but you should. No shoulds. There's no definitives in photography, in art, in anything. So anybody that tells you there are, I don't want to say shoulds, but I'm going to say should. You should try to learn as much as possible multimedia-wise. We don't just take stills anymore. We make content. We make videos. So if you understand how to edit videos, if you do things that other people may say, hey, could you, while you're here, don't just take these portraits, but could you make a quick 30-second clip or something? If you know how to do that, you can make more money at what you're doing. But part of it is being able to brand and market yourself. We are in a game where you brand and market yourself because that's how you get your information out there. That's how you are discovered. That's how people resonate with what you're doing. People all the time send me emails, like my Facebook page. No, I will not just like your Facebook page. I don't know who you are, and I'm not just going to click like because you're playing a vanity game. This isn't a vanity game. Because you have 1,000 people that you asked to like your page versus 200 people who discovered and decided to like your page. I rather have the 200 that are interested in what I'm doing than 1,000 who don't give a shit. So, we live in a game where you tell stories, or in a world where you tell stories, you engage with people, and the way you get people to latch onto what you're doing is you're a human. You give them a reason to like you. You give them a reason to follow what you're doing. You interact, and that's, to me, what you can do today. It's one way you can be successful, but it comes down to also quality work. If you're not delivering quality work first and foremost, then people won't hire you. It's your job to know your craft, and I won't go off on tangents, but it's your job to know your craft.
It is.
And always learn, and don't be afraid of change, and don't be afraid of the newest technology coming around. I have a Lightroom. It's horrible. The Lightroom design is the worst thing ever. In theory,
you don't
and in
like
concept,
your Lightroom?
What the hell am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with it? Uh-oh. You froze up for a second.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah,
no,
it caught up to us.
Yeah, no, I get it. I embraced trying to do something with it, but there's really not much you can do with it. And the problem with Lightroom is they may get out Lightroom'd by a technology company which exists now, that comes along and takes a regular image sensor, takes rapid fire pictures at different apertures, all in a split second, getting the right exposure, and then allowing you to shift the focus and out Lightroom. It's just not there yet. But embrace it. Understand video, understand new technologies. I'm not a Micro Four Thirds person. Shoot. I want to have the best of the best of the best with.
Yeah, it looks like Google Plus is freezing up on us a little bit. So before it kicks us off, let me do my closing sort of thing here. So what I like to ask photographers is to sort of give a tip or something. And I want to ask you a couple things. So on the marketing side and sort of social media, which a lot of people feel deluged with, okay, I got Twitter, I got Facebook, I got Google Plus, Pinterest, all these different networks, YouTube, all these different places where I need to be present. What would you suggest they do to manage that overflow of information while still managing to be a photographer?
I translate this down to telling stories. Do something that other people aren't doing, or give people a reason to be interested in what you're doing. If you're shooting weddings and that is your forte, then don't just, it's not about pushing. This is a common mistake in social media, in the whole world, is that you're always pushing for something. You're always saying, go do this, go do that, and you're not engaging in the conversation. It's about engaging in a conversation. Ask people questions and have them answer them, and then engage back. Like, what would be your ideal wedding shoot? If you had $5,000 to spend on a wedding shoot, what would you spend it on? You know, just and if you want people to be interested in your work, tell those stories of the day. Give the information for nothing. People want to know. So if you give it to them, they're going to thank you in return. If anybody knows Gary Vaynerchuk, he talks about the thank you economy all the time. Yeah. And I can tell you, I talk to Gary often. We have a rapport, which is great. And that started because of a hair pick. He loved the branding and marketing in this. He spoke at the event, the first internet marketing event I ever shot. Before I started my website, I threw this up on stage when I was shooting, and he's like, I freaking love that. And then 2 years later, I spoke at that event.
That's great. See, that's a success story right there.
Yeah, and it's like, tell the stories. Tell the stories, put up great information, and just let people feel like they're a part of something, a community. Create something, and just do what you're thinking. And now, in terms of Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, what I did is I killed YouTube. My goal was to beat the crap out of YouTube first thing and foremost, because that's where I wanted to be. And then Facebook is, you can't deny Facebook right now with over 1.1 billion people interacting. Yeah. It's unbelievable the reach that it has. But you still need your own website. You still need your own playing field and your own playground. But just, you need your own brand. You need to handle yourself like you're a band. You need the brand, you need the market, you need to be multifaceted. But again, it comes back to quality work.
See, that's brilliant. So you handle yourself like you're a band. See, that's the first time I've heard it put that way, in terms of positioning yourself and getting the word out about yourself. You're a performer, right? You're position yourself as a performer. It's not new, No.
That's why I sold T-shirts. I said that earlier. But another thing is, if you go back to one of my first videos, I put up for my 1,000th video, I put up this video test I did before, like 2 years before FroKnowsPhoto, and I was horrible. I couldn't get through 12 seconds without stopping, but I put up 10 minutes of this thing, of the worst, most painful thing to watch. I put it up there so people could see that that's where I was. And one day the switch went off, and I just got really good at sitting in front of the camera and just saying it and just doing it. You can do it.
I love it. That's great, man. Hey, I know it's late over there, and you've taken time. I mean, we were trying, just to tell the story. We've been trying to set this interview up for a long time, because I've wanted to talk to you and pick your brain about this stuff. So thank you for finally, I'm glad, putting up with the back and forth and all that stuff. So thank you.
No
I'm glad.
problem. I like talking.
Yeah, this is great. And I'm going to put you on the spot here. I want you to come on This Week in Photo as a co-host and bring some Fro to our cast. If
you get Ken Rockwell on, I will join you.
So it'll be us three on there talking.
I'll do it with you. That's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that.
I love it.
I just like talking, man. This is fun. This is what it's all about. Doing what you love, and in this day and age, sharing it with everybody else. And if somebody takes one nugget out of something that we make and it resonates with them, then that's great.
Yep. Change the world one person at a time. All right, Jared Polin, thank you for taking the time tonight.
You're welcome. So there you have it. It was a little bit of a reversal this week, where I'm being asked the questions in the interview, and that is how I like it. It was pretty darn cool. It was fun. I love interviews, like I said in the intro. Anybody who's looking to do interviews or has a podcast or something along those lines, let's go. Ask those questions. Oh, and I don't like written interviews. They're no fun. I like speaking. It's more fun, and it's easier. I don't have to type anything, and I can just get my points across better when I am talking. So, yeah, I'm going to be on the 300th episode of TWiP, and, it was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good questions, great discussions. What do you guys think? Were there secret words? I don't know if there were. I forget each week. I don't forget each week. It's just when I'm not in person. I like when I do them in person. They're more fun. So that is it. I want to thank our sponsors, allenscamera.com, 215-547-2841. Anything new, used, give them a call first if you're in the United States. They are a mom-and-pop store that's been there for 35 years. You can call Alan. You can talk to Brandon, who's Alan's son. You can talk to Rob, Marlena, and that's really it. Those guys run the ship over there. It's a small mom-and-pop organization that competes with the big boys, and they'll help you out with personal service, which isn't easy to get in this day and age. Thank you to Drobo. Thank you to Black Rapid. Thank you to BBO Poker Table and Adorama Picks for their Adorama Picks books and Illuminized prints, which I love. There you have it. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.